Ancient Egypt. Very interesting finds are the palettes from the pre-dynastic era. Their owners, who were not necessarily women, used them perhaps to prepare their makeup on these embossed metal sheets. Narmer's palette, 31st century BCE. What is special about this palette? It is the fact that it belonged to Narmer, the first pharaoh of unified Egypt. What will we look at in this episode? The Unification of Egypt. Lower Egypt, which can be found at the Nile Delta, and Upper Egypt, which stretches along the southern sections of the river, were unified around 2900 BCE. The Pyramids. The pyramids are the earliest monumental buildings of humanity. They have enormous size, a square-shaped layout, and are built from stone. Step Pyramid of Djoser. Djoser, pharaoh of the 3rd dynasty, asked Imhotep to have him build a step pyramid in the Saqqara cemetery. The statue of the pharaoh, placed in the crypt, could look out through a gap without being seen from the outside. Imhotep, the first artist. Imhotep is mentioned in the inscription of the statue of Djoser from Saqqara. He lived around 2600 BCE and was the first artist whose name we know. The Pyramids of Giza. The pyramids of Chios, Khafre, and Mykerinos can be found at the cemetery complex of Giza near Cairo. Nothing can express more vividly the feeling of incommutable and imperishable quality than these majestic tombs of the pharaohs. Book of the Dead. Papyrus roll with magical text. The description of the court of law of Osiris. Answers that must be given to the questions of the 42 gods present at the judgment. At this moment, the heart of the deceased was placed on one of the scales of Anubis, while an ostrich feather was put on the other, which was a symbol of Maat, the goddess of order. Sculpture in ancient Egypt. Egyptians depicted everything from its most typical view. The Seated Scribe shows a respected, high-ranking official from the entourage of the pharaoh with stunning detail. The New Kingdom of Egypt. During the New Kingdom, from 1500 to 1000 BCE, the capital city of Egypt became Thebes. Splendor and greatness characterizes this era. The rigid depictions of the Old Kingdom were replaced by a much more eventful style. The Valley of the Kings. The pharaohs of the New Kingdom are buried in the Thebes necropolis called the Valley of the Kings. The Valley of the Queens can be found to the south from the Valley of the Kings. Female members of the dynasties were entombed here. Akhenaten and the cult of the sun god. Amenhotep IV, who changed his name to Akhenaten, introduced a new monotheistic religion. Instead of Amon, Aten, the sun god became the main and exclusive god. Stereotypical depictions of humans were replaced by individuals, showing in many cases the imperfections of their bodies. Sculptors meticulously elaborated on wrinkles and individual features. Nefertiti was the wife of Akhenaten. The portrait in Berlin, which is one of the most important artworks of the era, is an enchanting monument to her beauty. The Tomb of TUTANKHAMUN, a royal tomb left intact. Howard Carter, English archaeologist, made his world-famous discovery in 1922. He found the intact tomb of King Tutankhamun, who died at a young age. The royal mummy, whose face was covered with a gold funeral mask, was protected by 4 chests and 3 finely elaborated painted coffins. It was surrounded by several sculptures, pendants, and jewelry boxes. The Throne of Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun's throne is embellished by gold, silver, and glass paste. The royal couple can be seen on its backrest. Its handrails are protected by the winged Urius snake. The Mask of Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun was the successor of Akhenaten. During his reign, the worship of Amun was restored. One can easily notice that by looking at the style of the artworks found in the tomb. The gold and enamel mask of the young pharaoh became one of the most well-known symbols of Egyptian art. The rock temple of Abu Simbel and the forest of columns at Karnak. Ramesses II was the biggest builder of the new kingdom. During his reign, the hall at Karnak with its myriad columns, the Ramesseum at Thebes, and the rock temple of Abu Simbel were completed. Comparing Sumerian and Egyptian art. The Sumerian statue is informal and down-to-earth, being cumbersome and stumpy at the same time. By looking at the statue, we can feel the attraction of the Sumerians to round shapes and modest sizes. The ethereal quality of the Egyptian statue comes from its highly stylized nature. Elegance radiates from the lines of the clothes and the composure of the body.